Night has fallen again. For most people, it's the hour of silence and rest. But for many souls, it is when the noise inside becomes the loudest. You lie in bed, lights dimmed, and your thoughts begin to march, one after another, faster and faster. Memories, worries, regrets, voices from the day that refuse to quiet down. You turn your pillow, you check the clock, and suddenly it's 2 in the morning. The world sleeps, yet your heart is wide awake. Saint Teresa of Ávila knew this night. She lived through nights darker than any of ours, nights of fear, of doubt, of exhaustion. A woman surrounded by opposition, misunderstood even by those she loved most. Sick in body, restless in spirit, and yet, she found peace. Not the peace of silence, but the peace of surrender. She discovered a secret rhythm, 3 words that gathered her scattered soul, and placed it back into the hands of God. Nada te turbe. Let nothing disturb you. She wrote those words not from comfort, but from battle. When her world seemed to crumble, when prayers felt unanswered, when her own strength was gone, she whispered them, and the storm obeyed. Not the storm outside, but the one inside. Listen to her words as if they were spoken to you tonight. Let nothing disturb you. Nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Patience obtains all things. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. These words became her anchor in every tempest. And centuries later, they remain a key that opens the same hidden door in the human heart. The door to divine stillness. So tonight, before you try to fall asleep, pause, breathe, and imagine Saint Teresa sitting beside you, her eyes kind, her voice steady, as she says, "Child, peace is not found outside you. It is within you, in the room where God waits." Perhaps you have been carrying the weight of many days. Perhaps the future feels uncertain, and your mind has learned to live in fast forward, always planning, always bracing, never resting. But what if tonight you stopped running? What if, instead of trying to control tomorrow, you simply rested in the presence of the one who already holds it? These 3 words, nada te turbe, are not just poetry. They are a doorway. They are permission to stop fighting the night, to stop defending yourself from imaginary disasters, and to rest under the gaze of a love that never sleeps. Saint Teresa's peace did not come from perfect circumstances. It came from perfect trust. Every time fear rose, she returned to those words. Every time anxiety whispered, she answered, "Nada te turbe." Every time darkness pressed closer, she closed her eyes and entered the inner castle, the sanctuary of the soul where God and the heart meet in silence. Tonight, you are invited to enter that same castle, to learn how to cross from noise to stillness, from control to surrender, from worry to rest. If your heart longs for peace, whisper with me now, slowly, gently, nada te turbe. Let nothing disturb you. Say it again. This time, let the meaning reach the center of your chest. You don't have to force calm. You only have to open the door. And as this journey begins, write these words in the comments. Not as decoration, but as a declaration of faith. Saint Teresa, teach me holy rest. Because before this night is over, you will learn how to use those same 3 words. To quiet every anxious thought, to recover your peace, and to fall asleep in the presence of God. That is where our journey begins. In the night of restless hearts, and in the whisper of a saint who knew that the deepest silence is not the absence of noise, but the presence of God. Saint Teresa often said that most people live outside their own souls, as if standing forever in the street, while the king waits for them inside the palace. She compared the soul to a castle made of crystal, filled with light, filled with rooms, and in the very center, God himself. But she warned, most of us never enter beyond the outer walls. We live distracted, pulled by the noise of the world, by constant fear and worry, by the endless pursuit of what we already possess within. The first step toward peace, she said, is simply this: to come home to yourself, to realize that God does not dwell in a distant sky, nor only in churches or temples, but in the very core of your being. He is closer than breath, deeper than thought, quieter than the loudest prayer. When anxiety takes over, the soul scatters. Its thoughts run in all directions, like frightened birds. Teresa's 3 words, nada te turbe, are not just a phrase, they are a summons. They call all those scattered pieces back into unity. They say, return. Be still. You are safe. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. Inside your chest, behind the curtain of thought and emotion, there is a silent room. No clocks. No voices. No demands. Just a soft, unmoving light. That is where Teresa learned to live. Not always perfectly, but faithfully, returning again and again, until the inner silence became stronger than any outer noise. She once wrote to her sisters, "When the world seems unbearable, retire within yourself. There, your master waits for you with open arms." Imagine that. Every time you whisper Nada Te Turb, you're not repeating an old phrase. You're knocking on that inner door. You are reminding your soul, the master is home. I can rest. Anxiety always tries to pull you toward what might happen. Recollection, Teresa's practice, pulls you back to what is happening. This breath, this moment, this presence. It is not a trick for relaxation. It's a change of residence. From the outer courts of fear to the innermost chamber of faith. Now, imagine Saint Teresa walking through her convent at night. The corridors are dark. The candlelight flickers. She pauses outside each sister's cell, praying softly. Behind every door is a woman with her own burdens. Sickness, longing, temptation, doubt. And to each of them, she whispers the same quiet blessing. Nada Te Turb. Let nothing disturb you. The message travels through the walls like a current of peace. That is what these words can become for you. A current running through the night. Flowing from your lips into your heart, until it touches even the thoughts you cannot control. The world tells you, fight your anxiety. Push it away. Teresa says, no. Bring it into the light. The moment you stop resisting the fear, it begins to dissolve. Because fear cannot survive in the presence of truth. And the truth is this. You are not alone. You are not powerless. And your peace does not depend on circumstances. It depends on remembering who dwells within you. So tonight, before we go deeper, take a breath. Slow, patient, honest. Whisper once again. Nada Te Turb. Let the words sink like stones into water. Let them ripple through the layers of your mind. Through your muscles, through your heartbeat. If you could see your soul the way Teresa saw it, you would see that every prayer, no matter how small, is like a candle lit inside that crystal castle. The more you pray, the brighter it becomes. And soon, even the outer storms cannot darken its center. This is the architecture of peace. One heart, one God, one still center. And the key that unlocks it, 3 words. Whispered not with the lips, but with trust. Stay with me because in the next chapter, you'll learn how to speak those words not only with your mouth, but with your whole body. To turn Nada Te Turb from a sentence into an experience of divine calm that no darkness can touch. Saint Teresa once said that true prayer doesn't come from the mouth. It begins in the heart and only then rises to the lips. The words Nada Te Turb are simple. Yes. But simplicity is not weakness. In those 3 syllables lives a force stronger than any argument. Stronger than any fear that wakes you in the middle of the night. To speak them rightly, you must not rush. They are not to be repeated mechanically. They are to be breathed. Each time you say them, you surrender something. A fear, a thought, a fragment of control. And as you surrender, peace slips quietly into the spaces you left open. Try it now. Take a slow breath in through the nose. Let the air rest for a moment behind your ribs. Then exhale, gently, whispering. Nada be. Let the breath carry the words. As if they were incense rising before the throne of God. Teresa believed that the body itself could pray. That even in silence, a still hand, a quiet breath, a lowered gaze. All of it could become worship. When your body joins the prayer, your mind begins to follow. So tonight, before sleep, let your very breathing become prayer. Every inhale, trust. Every exhale, surrender. She once taught her sisters that when the heart feels crowded with worries, they should not fight the thoughts, but gently turn toward God, as one turns the face toward sunlight. No need to shout, she said, for He dwells within. Speak to Him as you would to a friend beside you. That is what Nada Te Turb truly is. A conversation between the frightened child and the faithful father. Now, imagine this scene. Teresa kneeling in her small cell. The floor is cold stone. Her hands hold a simple wooden crucifix. She closes her eyes and breathes the words, not once but again and again, until her heart slows to the rhythm of eternity. Not a T-turb. Not a T-turb. Not a T-turb. Outside, the wind howls against the convent walls. Inside, not even a leaf stirs. That same stillness can visit you. You do not need to be a saint. Only willing to let the words work their quiet miracle. Repeat them now, wherever you are. Once for your mind, once for your body, once for your soul. And after the third repetition, listen, truly listen, to the silence that follows. That silence is not empty. It is full of God. In that silence, anxiety loses its throne. The thoughts may still pass by, but they are no longer kings. They are clouds crossing a vast and peaceful sky. The storm still exists, but it cannot command you. You belong to another kingdom now, the kingdom of peace. And here is the secret that Teresa discovered. Every time you choose peace, you strengthen heaven's rule inside you. Every time you say not a T-turb, you give less power to the chaos that once defined your nights. Slowly, prayer after prayer, the storm learns your name and obeys. So as this chapter ends, place your hand over your heart and whisper once more. Not a T-turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. God is here. And where God is, peace is not far behind. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, you will learn how to prepare the space around you. To turn your room, your bed, even the silence of night itself, into a sanctuary where anxiety cannot enter, and where only God may whisper your name. Peace does not appear by accident. Saint Teresa taught that the soul must invite it, just as you would prepare your home for a beloved guest. Before sleep, she would turn her small cell into a place of meeting, a quiet chapel where heaven and earth could speak in whispers. You can do the same. You don't need candles and relics, only intention. Look around your room. It may be cluttered with the traces of the day, clothes, screens, unfinished things. Now slowly begin to make space. Every gesture of order tells your mind, the day is over. The battle is done. Fold one piece of clothing. Turn off the harsh light. Close what must be closed. Emails, worries, doors. As you do, whisper softly. Not a T-turb. Let nothing disturb you. You are not just cleaning a room. You are clearing an altar. Teresa used to say that silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of God. When noise fades, His voice can finally be heard. So take away what distracts. Silence the phone. Let the music stop. Let the hum of the world die down until only your own breathing remains. Now, place one symbol of faith near you. A crucifix, a rosary, even a small stone that reminds you of God's permanence. Touch it gently and tell your heart, this is the anchor of my night. If you can, open the window slightly. Let the cool air enter like grace. The air you breathe is the same breath He once gave to Adam. You are inhaling life itself, not emptiness. When Saint Teresa prepared for rest, she always prayed one short prayer. Lord, between you and me may nothing come. No fear, no thought, no barrier. It was her way of saying, I belong entirely to you, even in sleep. You can say the same now. Speak it quietly. Lord, between you and me may nothing come. Then sit or lie down. Feel the weight of your body sink into the mattress. Let it remind you that you are safe, supported, held. All through the day, you have carried your body like a burden. Now let the earth carry you. You have tried to hold the world together. Now let God hold you instead. The saint often told her nuns that the bed can be an altar when approached with love. For some, that meant a straw mattress and cold sheets. For you, perhaps soft linen and the hum of a city beyond the window. It doesn't matter. Wherever you rest, Christ is already there, waiting. Your pillow can become the place of surrender. Your blanket the mantle of divine peace. Now when the room is quiet, take one deep breath. Slowly, fully. Let your exhale become the sound of release. Whisper the words again. Not a T-turb. Imagine them floating across the room, settling over your furniture, over your thoughts, like gentle light. Let them bless the space where you will rest. If tears come, let them. Saint Teresa called tears liquid prayer. They cleanse the doorway of the heart. Do not hold them back. They are part of the sacred preparation. And if no tears come, then let gratitude rise instead. Gratitude is also prayer. This room, humble, ordinary, yours, is now a small convent, a chapel for two, you and God. Every wall listens. Every shadow softens. Even the air feels different, as if heaven itself has drawn near to keep watch while you sleep. Breathe once more. Feel the weight of the day melting away. Say the words slowly, one last time. Nada disturb. Let nothing disturb you. The night is no longer an enemy. It is a sanctuary. And you are already home. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, you will learn how to use these same 3 words. To quiet not only the noise around you, but the thoughts within. To transform the chaos of the mind into a doorway of peace, where God Himself will speak in the silence. There is a kind of noise that no one else can hear. It does not come from the street, or from machines, or from voices. It comes from within. It is the noise of thoughts, circling, competing, shouting over one another. You lie down in silence, yet inside your skull, the world keeps talking. Plans, worries, regrets, half-finished conversations. They all rise up like a restless crowd. Saint Teresa knew that noise very well. She called it distraction, the great thief of prayer. When she first tried to pray in silence, she confessed that her mind was like a wild horse, leaping from one field to another. And yet, over time, she learned to calm that wildness. Not by fighting it, but by teaching it to kneel. You see, anxiety grows stronger when you resist it. The more you tell the mind, be quiet, the louder it becomes. Teresa's secret was gentleness. She compared the thoughts to small children running about the courtyard. You cannot silence them by shouting, she said. You take them by the hand, one by one, and lead them back to their place. Let us try that now. Take a breath, slow and honest. When a thought comes, what if tomorrow goes wrong? Do not chase it, do not argue. Simply nod to it and whisper, Nada te turb. Then let it walk away. When another thought arrives, did I say the right thing today? Acknowledge it, bless it, and again, Nada te turb. Each thought bows and leaves the room, until only stillness remains. It may not happen quickly. Teresa herself spent years training her mind to return. But she discovered that the return itself is prayer. Each time you bring your thoughts home, you are turning toward God. And that turning, that act of remembering Him, is worth more than hours of perfect silence. She once wrote, Do not think much but love much. That is the key. When the mind begins to wander, do not punish yourself. Love yourself back into focus. Say quietly, Lord, I am here. Not, I am perfect. Not, I am free of thoughts. Just, I am here. That humble presence opens the gate to grace. Now feel the air move in and out of your chest. The breath enters. Peace comes in. The breath leaves. Fear goes out. With every cycle, repeat in your heart. Nada te turb. Let the phrase move with your breathing, until they become one single motion. Prayer in the body, peace in the mind. Saint Teresa often laughed at her own distractions. She said, I am more afraid of one tiny fly in prayer than of all the devils in hell. Because she knew, a single buzzing thought can ruin a moment of peace, if we take it too seriously. So learn to smile at the flies. They cannot harm you. They only remind you how much you need the quiet. When the noise returns, and it will, remember that you are not failing at prayer. You are being invited deeper. Even the distractions are teachers, showing you what still holds your heart. Let them speak, then let them go. Always returning to the same truth. Nothing can disturb the soul that rests in God. Say the words again softly, as if speaking to the thoughts themselves. Nada te turb. Nada te turb. Each repetition is a closing of one more door. The house of your mind becomes still. The night begins to breathe with you. Now there is space. Space for peace to enter. Space for God to speak without words. Stay in that space a little longer. Do not rush to fill it. Do not reach for meaning. Just let the silence stand between you and the noise of the world, like a great cathedral of air. Saint Teresa promised that when the mind grows quiet, the heart begins to hear. And what it hears first is a whisper older than the world. You are loved. You are safe. You can rest. Breathe this truth once more into your soul. Whisper the 3 words that carry the weight of heaven. Nada te turb. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, you will discover how these same words can move beyond your thoughts and into your heart, healing the emotions that ache beneath the surface, the wounds that no one sees, and teaching you how to rest not only in mind, but in spirit. Even when the mind grows quiet, the heart often keeps speaking. It carries the language of emotion, sorrow, fear, loneliness, longing. You can silence your thoughts, yet still feel the ache beneath them. That is because anxiety is not only in the head. It also lives in the heart, where memories and unspoken desires sleep. Saint Teresa understood this better than anyone. Her life was marked by illness, misunderstanding, even betrayal. At times she felt abandoned by God Himself. And yet, she turned those wounds into prayer. She discovered that the broken heart is not an obstacle to God. It is His favorite doorway. When she wrote, Nada te turb, she was not preaching to others. She was comforting her own trembling soul. Her heart knew pain, and yet it learned to stay open in the middle of it. She found that when pain is offered, it transforms. When you bring your sorrow into prayer, it becomes light. So tonight, we will let those 3 words touch the heart itself. Begin by placing your hand gently over your chest. Feel the quiet pulse beneath your fingers. That steady rhythm is proof that you are alive, still carried by grace. With each beat, whisper inwardly, Nada te turb. Let the vibration of the words meet the beating of your heart. They belong together. If your heart feels heavy, if it carries the weight of loss, of shame, of regret, do not push those feelings away. Saint Teresa would tell you, bring them to Him. She believed that God hides in the very things we try to escape. When you hold your pain before Him, it becomes prayer, raw, unpolished, real. You might say, but I can't feel peace. I only feel tired. And Teresa would answer, then rest in your tiredness. That too is holy. God does not wait for perfect emotions. He meets you exactly where you are. In the trembling, in the confusion, in the long exhale of surrender. Close your eyes now. Picture the heart not as a muscle of flesh, but as a small chapel filled with soft light. Inside, the walls are cracked. But through those cracks light seeps in. Golden. Alive. Warm. That light is grace entering through the places you thought were ruined. Do not try to seal them. Let them shine. Saint Teresa often said, the Lord walks among the pots and pans. She meant that God is not only in the ecstasy of prayer, but also in the small ordinary moments. And yes, in your emotional chaos too. When you say Nada te turb while your heart is aching, you are inviting God into the kitchen of your soul. Into the mess, the unfinished dishes, the real life. Feel your breathing again. Let every breath carry one feeling upward. Fear, sadness, guilt, loneliness. And hand it over to the one who can hold it. Say quietly, Nada te turb. Nothing disturbs you, Lord, because you are peace itself. And if you live in me, then peace already lives here. Stay a moment longer in that truth. There is nothing you must fix right now. Nothing you must explain. The heart heals not through effort, but through presence. Teresa called it, being with the one who loves us. That is enough. That is prayer. If tears rise, let them fall. They are not weakness, they are cleansing rain. Each one says, I trust you enough to stop pretending. And when the tears finish, listen again for that faint whisper beneath the quiet. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved. The saint once wrote, all things are passing. God never changes. Whatever pain you carry tonight, it will pass. Whatever fear you feel, it will fade. Only love remains. Only God remains. Now breathe deeply once more and repeat with me. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, you will learn how to carry this peace beyond your heart, into your surroundings, into the world you wake to tomorrow. so that even when the day begins again, your soul will remain unshaken. Morning always comes. The same world that you left behind when you closed your eyes waits for you again when you open them. The same people, the same work, the same noise. But Saint Teresa would tell you, you are not the same. Something inside you has changed, even if the surface looks untouched. She said that real prayer doesn't end when you rise from your knees. It begins there. The silence of the night is meant to spill into the noise of the day. Peace is not meant to be locked away in candles and whispers. It must walk on 2 feet. It must speak through your voice, shine through your eyes, move through your hands. When Teresa founded her convents, she told her sisters, "The Lord walks even in the kitchen, among the pots and pans." She wanted them to understand that holiness is not in escaping the world, but in transforming it from within. If you can carry the stillness of prayer into the ordinary, then the ordinary becomes sacred. Imagine beginning your day like this. You rise, slowly, with no rush. You touch your heart and whisper once, "Nada te turb." Before you open your phone, before you speak to anyone, you speak to God. You let the words form a small shield around you, not to separate you from life, but to protect your peace as you live it. You pour your coffee, and maybe a worry tries to enter your mind. An unfinished task, a conversation that didn't end well. You feel the pulse of anxiety trying to find a way back in. But now you know the response. You smile, breathe, and say, "Nada te turb." You remember the night, the stillness, the presence. The worry loses its grip. That is how saints are formed. Not by avoiding storms, but by learning to stay calm in their midst. Teresa once wrote, "The soul that walks in love neither tires nor grows weary." Why? Because love is stronger than effort. Love rests even while it works. Each time you feel agitation rise, pause for a second. Imagine yourself back in the quiet of the night, where peace wrapped around you like a warm blanket. Call it back with 3 words. Softly, inwardly, nada te turb. Let your breath slow. Let your shoulders drop. Let your eyes remember heaven. Soon you'll notice something beautiful. People around you begin to feel it too. Your calm becomes contagious. Your silence teaches without words. You don't need to preach. Your peace will speak. That is how Teresa changed hearts. Not by argument, but by presence. She became what she prayed. And that is what God is asking of you now. You might fail some days. You'll lose your patience, forget to pray. Find yourself once again tangled in worry. Do not despair. Even Teresa stumbled often. She admitted it freely. The secret is to begin again. To return to the center one more time. Every return strengthens the soul. Every repetition of nada te turb rebuilds the inner castle, brick by brick, room by room. Remember, peace is not a gift that visits once. It is a friendship you cultivate daily. It grows with every small act of trust. Every time you choose gentleness over haste, silence over complaint, forgiveness over judgment. These are the ways the stillness of prayer becomes the living presence of God in the world. So now, as you move through your day, let each step become a quiet echo of the night's prayer. When you walk, walk peacefully. When you speak, speak slowly. When you listen, listen fully. And if chaos rises around you, smile and remember, the castle stands firm. The king is still within. Say it one more time out loud if you can. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Hold these words not only on your lips but in your actions. Carry them with you like a hidden rosary in your soul. And when the night returns, as it always does, you will find that peace is already waiting, like a faithful friend at the door, ready to walk with you again through the silence. Stay with me, because in the next chapter you will discover how to keep that peace even in times of trial, how Saint Teresa faced fear, temptation, and loss, and how her unshakable trust became the armor that no darkness could break. There are nights when peace feels far away. You whisper nada te turb, and still, the fear remains. The shadows stretch longer, the silence feels heavy, and your heart trembles as if it remembers every wound at once. Saint Teresa knew that feeling deeply. Her own nights were not gentle. She faced sickness, suspicion, spiritual dryness. And at times, a terror so sharp she called it the assault of nothingness. And yet, she never fled from it. She met her fear the way she met God. Face to face. She wrote, "I fear nothing but offending him." And that was the secret. She feared only losing her connection to love. All other fears, of death, of failure, of rejection, became small beside that one greater love. When fear comes, it always speaks in the same language. What if? What if I lose what I love? What if tomorrow breaks? What if God forgets me? But listen closely, beneath that question, there is a deeper cry. I want to be safe. I want to be held. And the truth that Teresa discovered is this: you already are. She once said, "Let nothing disturb you, for everything passes except God." It's not denial. It's revelation. Everything that frightens you is temporary. Even the fear itself. But the one who holds you is eternal. He doesn't change when the world shakes. He remains, steady as the flame that never flickers. When you feel afraid, do not fight the fear. Instead, invite it into prayer. Say quietly, "Lord, here is my fear. I cannot control it, but you can hold it." Then breathe. Each breath is an act of trust. Each repetition of nada te turb is a way of letting go of the illusion of control and resting in divine care. Teresa compared fear to a barking dog. If you run, it chases you. If you turn and stand still, it loses interest. So stand still. Let the noise bark, but do not move. Say the words, nada te turb. Let them become your stillness. Soon, the bark fades into silence. The saint wrote that the soul in grace fears nothing, for she knows who walks beside her. That is the truth to remember in every storm. You are not alone in your fear. He walks beside you, even when you cannot see him. Especially then. The moments of deepest darkness are often the moments when his hand rests closest on your shoulder. Imagine Teresa in her convent, sick and weak, surrounded by silence. Her sisters are asleep. She wakes, heart racing, unsure if she will survive the night. And yet, she takes her crucifix, presses it to her lips, and whispers, "Nada te turb." The fear remains for a moment, and then something changes. It does not disappear. It transforms. It becomes surrender. It becomes love. That is what she meant when she said, "Patience obtains all things." She wasn't speaking of passive waiting. She meant trust that holds still even when the earth moves. Patience is faith stretched across time. When fear knocks again, and it will, open the door gently. Look it in the eyes and say, "I see you, but you do not command me." Then step aside and let God stand where you stood. He will take care of what you cannot. You don't need to be fearless to have faith. You only need to bring your fear to the one who never leaves. And when you do, something miraculous happens. The fear loses its teeth. It becomes the very thing that drives you deeper into the arms of peace. So tonight, when the shadows grow long, and the mind begins to tremble again, say it once more, slowly, deliberately. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, we will go even deeper to the sacred secret Teresa left for those who wish not only to survive fear, but to transform it into an unbreakable trust. A trust that even death itself cannot shake. Saint Teresa often said that the soul must learn to trust like a child. Not because life is simple, but because love is. She had seen too much suffering to believe that faith meant safety. For her, trust was not a feeling. It was an act of courage. It was the decision to keep walking through the darkness, even when you can't see the next step, because you know who walks ahead of you. Teresa lived in constant uncertainty. Her health was fragile. Her reforms made her enemies. Her spiritual experiences were doubted, even mocked. Yet every time the ground shook beneath her, she would smile and say, "Let nothing disturb you." It wasn't denial. It was defiance. It was her way of saying, "I will not let fear define my reality. Only God will." She wrote in her diary, "Those who love God are never alone. Even when abandoned, they are accompanied by his invisible friendship. That friendship, invisible, silent, yet utterly real, is the cornerstone of true trust. And trust, Teresa taught, has its own strange alchemy. It can turn pain into peace, confusion into clarity, darkness into light. How does it happen? It begins with surrender, not as defeat, but as a sacred exchange. When you surrender control, you make room for grace to enter. And grace always fills the space you leave open. So tonight, before you sleep, try this small prayer. Lord, I give you everything I cannot carry. Say it slowly, as if unpacking the weight from your chest. The unfinished plans, the hidden worries, the quiet doubts. Name them one by one. And as you name them, hand them over. When the heart grows lighter, whisper, nada te turb. You have just practiced holy trust. Saint Teresa called this kind of surrender, holy abandonment. It doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over. It is the posture of open hands instead of clenched fists. And she promised that when you live this way, you begin to feel something extraordinary. A quiet strength that is not your own. It's as if God lends you his steadiness. She compared it to being carried by a river. You no longer fight the current. You allow it to lead you, trusting that the water knows the way home. And when the current grows rough, you do not drown. You are only being taken deeper. This is the mystery Teresa called the alchemy of trust. That everything surrendered becomes transformed. Suffering offered becomes compassion. Loss offered becomes wisdom. Fear offered becomes faith. In the crucible of love, nothing is wasted. Do you see now why she could whisper nada te turb? In the middle of illness, rejection, even death? Because she had already given everything away. There was nothing left to lose. And therefore, nothing left to fear. Teresa once told her nuns, when you have given all to him, you possess all in him. This is the paradox of divine trust. The more you let go, the richer your soul becomes. And when everything is finally surrendered, what remains is peace. Unshakable, unstealable peace. Tonight, as you lie in bed, place your hands palms up upon your chest. Feel the heartbeat beneath them. It is not only your pulse. It is his rhythm within you. Say it again, not as a mantra, but as a vow. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. You are held by the one who never sleeps, who never leaves, who never changes. Stay here for a moment longer. Let this truth sink into your bones. You do not need to understand the path to trust the guide. You do not need to see the light to know that dawn will come. You only need to stay open. As Teresa did. As every saint did. With hands empty, heart full. Whispering again and again. Nada te turb. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, we will enter the deepest chamber of Saint Teresa's teaching, where silence itself becomes a language, and the soul learns not only to trust God, but to rest in him. Completely, wordlessly, forever. Saint Teresa once wrote, "The Lord does not speak to the soul through noise, but through silence that burns with love." She had come to understand a truth that few ever reach. That beyond words, beyond thoughts, beyond even prayer itself, there is a space where the soul and God simply are. This was the heart of her teaching, the center of the inner castle. She said that the closer the soul draws to God, the fewer words it needs. In the outer rooms we talk much. In the inner rooms we listen. And in the very center, there is only presence. Stillness. Union. Many people are afraid of silence. They think it is emptiness. But Teresa knew that true silence is full, overflowing, alive. It is not the absence of sound, but the presence of someone. It is the space where anxiety ends. Because there is nothing left to defend, nothing left to prove. She called this moment the prayer of quiet. It is not earned. It is given. It cannot be forced. It can only be received. And the way to receive it is by letting go. Letting go of striving, of effort, of even the desire to pray well. Have you ever sat so still that time seemed to pause? That moment when everything in you grows soft. When your breathing slows. And your heart feels held by something vast and tender. That is a glimpse of the silence Teresa lived in. In that silence, the words nada te turb are no longer a prayer. They are a state of being. Teresa often described it as falling asleep in the arms of God. Not a sleep of forgetfulness, but of trust, the deepest rest a soul can know. And she would tell her nuns, "Do not be afraid if you can no longer find words in prayer. It is because love himself is speaking for you." When you reach that place, there is no effort, only surrender. No asking, only being. The heart becomes like a still lake. And in that mirror, God sees his own reflection. Close your eyes now. Imagine your thoughts as leaves floating on water. Each one drifts, slows and fades. Beneath them, the water remains calm, untouched. That calm is your soul. That stillness is God within you. And if you listen carefully, you may feel what Teresa felt. Not a voice, but a presence. A warmth that does not come from the body. A peace that does not depend on the world. She once said, "When the soul is quiet, God works. Not when we struggle, not when we plead, but when we are still enough to allow him." That is why the saints appear peaceful even in suffering. They are not spared pain. They are held inside it. The silence of God surrounds them like light through stained glass, passing through every crack, transforming even the darkness into color. If you ever wonder whether he hears you, he does. Even your silence is a form of prayer. When you have no strength left to speak, when all you can do is breathe, he listens to the sound of your heart beating. That rhythm is his favorite hymn. So tonight when you say your 3 words, "Nada te turb," let them lead you beyond language. Say them once aloud, then once within, and finally, let them fade into the silence. Do not try to fill the space that follows. Just rest there. Let the silence hold you. Let it heal you. Let it speak to you. Because in that sacred quiet, something unseen is happening. Your soul is being shaped into peace. You are becoming what you have prayed for. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we will explore what Saint Teresa called the Holy Exchange. How giving your rest to God awakens his life within you, and how your peace can begin to touch others, even while you sleep. Saint Teresa believed that every act of surrender creates an echo in heaven. She said that when a soul gives itself completely, God gives himself completely in return. It is not a transaction. It is an exchange of love, a circulation of grace between creator and creature. When she whispered Nada te turb before sleep, it was never only for herself. She offered her rest to God, not as escape, but as an act of union. Her sleep became prayer. Her stillness became service. Even in silence, she was giving. She called this mystery the Holy Exchange. When you give God your weariness, he gives you his peace. When you hand him your fear, he gives you his strength. When you entrust him with your life, he gives you himself. That is the secret hidden in the simplicity of her words. That the moment you say Nada te turb, you are not merely calming yourself. You are stepping into an invisible relationship, a rhythm of giving and receiving, that stretches from earth to eternity. Teresa wrote, "God cannot be outdone in generosity." She meant that no offering, not even your smallest, is ever wasted. Every sigh, every quiet tear, every moment of surrender, is noticed, received, and multiplied in ways unseen. The peace you feel when you say Nada te turb is not just yours. It is heaven answering you. Try this tonight before you rest. As you lie down, whisper, "Lord, I offer you this night. Let my sleep be your prayer." And as your breathing deepens, imagine each exhale rising upward like incense. Every breath says, "I trust you." Every still moment becomes an offering. This is what Teresa meant by the life of union. It is not a mystical trance reserved for saints. It is a love so mutual, so constant, that even your rest belongs to God. You don't need to understand it. You only need to give yourself into it. Think of the way a child falls asleep in a parent's arms. The child does not plan, does not calculate how to rest. It simply surrenders to safety. That is what Teresa did each night. And that is what you are invited to do now. You might wonder, how can my small peace matter? Teresa would smile and answer, because your peace becomes someone else's strength. Every act of trust sends ripples into the world. You may never see them, but somewhere, another heart finds calm because you chose to believe. That is the divine economy. Nothing pure is ever lost. When you sleep in faith, you are not merely escaping the day. You are participating in the healing of the world. Your stillness joins a chorus of quiet souls, monks, mothers, hidden saints, whose silent prayers form the invisible heart of creation. And among them, Saint Teresa still whispers her 3 words, teaching heaven and earth alike to rest in love. Now, take one last deep breath. Feel your heart steady. Feel gratitude rise like a warm tide. Say the words slowly. Nada disturb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Stay here for a few moments. Let the holy exchange begin. Your fatigue for his peace. Your silence for his song. Your night for his light. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, you will discover how this quiet transformation extends beyond your own soul. How Saint Teresa taught that the peace born in prayer can become the very light that heals the hearts of others. Saint Teresa taught that the soul at peace becomes like a lamp. It doesn't try to shine. It simply burns with what it has received. The light is not its own. It is God's flame reflected through human stillness. That is why she said, the best proof of prayer is love. You see, prayer that remains only in the mind is incomplete. True prayer changes the air around you. It changes the way you look at others, the way you listen, the way you walk through the world. Every soul that truly rests in God becomes a sanctuary where others can also rest. Think of how it feels when you meet someone who is deeply calm. They do not need to preach or persuade. Their presence alone disarms your anxiety. That is what Saint Teresa became. A living peace, walking among the restless. Her convents were not places of escape from the world, but wells of stillness where others could come and drink. She once told her sisters, "Let your heart be so full of God, that those who come to you leave with peace they did not have before." This is the vocation of every soul that prays. Your stillness is not for you alone. It is a doorway through which God can reach others. Maybe you've noticed it before. How when you carry calm within, arguments dissolve faster. Children quiet down. Even strangers seem to soften around you. That is not coincidence. That is divine presence moving through you. Teresa used to say that God has no hands but ours. When you forgive, he forgives through you. When you listen, he listens through you. When you bring peace into a tense room, you become his instrument. And that begins with what you've learned tonight. To silence your own heart, so that his peace has space to flow. Close your eyes for a moment. Think of someone who is suffering. Someone restless, afraid, lost in worry. Picture their face gently. Do not force anything. Simply hold them in your heart. Then whisper, "Nada te turb." Let the words travel from your soul to theirs. In that moment, you are doing what Teresa did. You are interceding through stillness. You are offering the peace you have received. She called this spiritual friendship. It is love without noise. A connection that crosses distance and time. Teresa believed that when 2 souls rest in God, they are never truly apart. For God himself becomes the space between them. You can live this even in small ways. When someone speaks to you in anger, pause before you respond. Breathe, whisper "Nada te turb," and answer from calm, not from heat. When you sense another's pain but don't know what to say nothing, but stay present. Your quiet presence may be the gentlest form of healing. Peace does not need to shout. It only needs to stay. And the world, tired as it is starving for souls who know how to stay in peace. If you want to live as Teresa lived, begin with one simple practice. Carry her 3 words with you wherever you go. Let them walk with you through crowds, through work, through uncertainty. When you feel hurried, whisper them. When you feel judged, whisper them. When you feel unseen, whisper them. Until peace becomes the natural language of your soul. Because one day, perhaps without realizing it, you will notice that others have begun to whisper it too. Someone will find calm because you did not panic. Someone will choose kindness because you stayed gentle. Someone will rediscover hope because you did not lose yours. And that is how God spreads his peace. Not through thunder, but through hearts that have learned how to rest. Now take a breath, slow and steady. Feel the light within you. Small but steady, like a candle in cupped hands. Say it one more time. Nada te turb. You are now the lamp Teresa described. A vessel of peace, carrying light into a restless world. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, you will see how Saint Teresa's words are not just a comfort for the night, but a secret map, a path that leads the soul step by step into unshakable joy, the kind that no fear, no pain, no passing world can ever take away. Saint Teresa never promised a life without suffering. She knew that pain, loss, and uncertainty are woven into every soul's story. But she did promise something greater, a joy that suffering cannot destroy. She called it holy joy. A deep, quiet gladness born not of circumstance, but of communion. In her darkest seasons, when illness racked her body, and her reforms drew ridicule and exile, she was often seen smiling. Someone once asked her, "Mother Teresa, how can you be joyful when everything goes wrong?" She answered, "Because I have discovered that when I possess nothing, I possess all." That was her secret, detachment not from life, but from the illusions that choke it. She realized that the more you cling, the more fragile you become. But the more you release, the lighter the soul grows, until even sorrow can lift you higher. She called this detachment holy freedom. It is not the cold absence of feeling, but the warm trust that says, if God is here, everything is already enough. That is the foundation of unshakable joy. It does not depend on what happens. It depends on who is present when it happens. You can begin to live this way tonight. Ask yourself, what in my life still tries to own my peace? It might be a fear about the future, a relationship that defines too much of your worth, a dream you refuse to surrender, a hidden wound that whispers, you're not safe yet. Look at it with honesty, but without fear. Teresa would tell you, this too must bow before God. Then, quietly, lay it down. Even if only for this moment. You are not losing it. You are placing it in hands more capable than yours. Say softly, Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. You have just made an act of joy. Teresa's joy was not noisy or shallow. It was steady, radiant, contagious. Her sisters said that when she laughed, the whole convent seemed lighter, as if the walls themselves exhaled. She used to tease the anxious ones, saying, "From sad saints deliver us, O Lord," because she believed that sadness, when fed by fear, becomes a subtle form of pride. It forgets that God is still in control. Her joy was humility in motion. It came from knowing she was small, but loved by an infinite one. When you remember that, life becomes simple again. The world may break your plans, but it cannot break your belonging. Saint Teresa wrote, "When the soul truly loves God, it laughs at the world's fears." That laughter is not mockery. It is faith expressed in music. It's the sound of a soul that knows it is already home, even while still on the road. Try it now, smile even slightly. Let the muscles of your face remember trust. Feel how the act itself loosens the heart. Whisper the words through that small knowing smile. Nada te turb. Nothing can disturb what God has already claimed. Joy, Teresa said, is the flag that flies from the castle when the king is home. So if you want to know whether God truly dwells in you, look for the joy. Not the loud excitement of the world, but the quiet gladness that survives every storm. That is the sign of his reign. And when you lose it, as all do from time to time, do not panic. Return to the practice, to the breath, to the words. Joy will return, because joy is not an emotion. It is the presence of love remembered. Now breathe deeply once more. Feel the calm beneath the heartbeat. Whisper the 3 words that open the gates of heaven. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we will walk with Saint Teresa into the heart of this joy, where peace becomes praise, where every breath becomes thanksgiving, and where the soul learns the final secret of her prayer, how to fall asleep in the arms of God without fear, and wake up already in his light. Saint Teresa often said that sleep is not the end of prayer, it is the continuation of it. She believed that when a soul has learned to rest in God while awake, That same peace continues to breathe through it even in dreams. "Let your last thought," she told her sisters, "be of him who never sleeps." To her, sleep was not an escape from life, but a surrender to the one who gives it. It was the most intimate form of trust. To close your eyes and hand over control. To stop holding the world together. And allow God to hold you. Every night before lying down, Teresa would make a simple gesture. She would touch the crucifix to her lips and whisper, "Now, Lord, we rest together." She saw the bed as an altar, the night as a sanctuary, and sleep as a sacrament of faith. You can make this your ritual too. When the lights dim, when the world outside your window quiets, sit for a moment in stillness. Place your hand on your heart. Let the breath settle into rhythm. And in that rhythm, let the words rise. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Now, look at the darkness. Not as emptiness, but as God's cloak. He wraps you in it. Not to hide you, but to protect you. The shadows that frightened you as a child are now the folds of His mercy. The silence that once felt lonely is now His heartbeat, steady and near. Saint Teresa said that when we truly trust, we no longer fall asleep alone. For the soul that loves, even unconsciousness is communion. In that holy rest, the Spirit continues to work, healing, cleansing, shaping you in ways you cannot yet understand. If you have ever awakened with sudden peace, after a night of prayerful surrender, you have already tasted this mystery. It is not your doing. It is grace completing what your will began. For when you say Nada te turb before closing your eyes, you are giving God permission to work in your sleep. Teresa believed that the angels watch over the sleeping soul. She wrote, "When the soul lies quiet, He sends His servants to keep her company. Whether or not you can feel them, they are near, keeping vigil at your bedside, their presence woven into the quiet." Now, as you prepare to rest, imagine this. Your room grows dim. The air softens. And from the stillness, a gentle warmth begins to rise. The warmth of divine nearness. Your worries, once sharp as thorns, now fade like smoke from a candle snuffed. Only one thing remains. Peace. This is not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of being found. It is the moment the heart says, "I am safe because I am yours." And heaven answers in silence, "Yes, always." Let your breathing slow now. Each inhale, grace received. Each exhale, surrender given. The room fades. The thoughts dissolve. And still the prayer continues, quietly, beneath consciousness. Nada te turb. This is how Saint Teresa fell asleep each night. Not in exhaustion but in adoration. She gave her heart to God as easily as one gives it to sleep. And in return, He gave her dreams that were more real than waking life. Dreams of light, of union, of eternal rest. You too can enter that sacred rhythm. You do not need visions. You only need willingness. Each night you practice this surrender, you are being trained for the final one. The night that will not end. The sleep that becomes awakening. The moment when the soul finally rests forever in God. So now, as this day fades into eternity, say it once more, slowly, lovingly. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. Rest now. You are not falling asleep into emptiness. You are falling into the arms of love itself. Stay with me. Because in the next chapter, we will cross the threshold between night and eternity, and discover what Saint Teresa meant when she said that the soul who learns to rest in God each night will one day awaken directly in His light, with no fear and no end. Saint Teresa taught that the soul who learns to rest in God each night is already rehearsing for eternity. For her, death was not a sudden event. It was the natural continuation of a life lived in surrender. The one who sleeps in God, she wrote, awakens where there is no dawn. She did not fear death because she had practiced it daily. In every act of trust, in every whispered Nada te turb, each night she rehearsed the same sacred motion. To let go, to fall, to awaken. And when the final night came, there was no interruption. Only completion. Imagine it as she described it. The soul, so accustomed to resting in His arms, simply crosses a threshold of light. No struggle, no terror. Just the widening of dawn that never ends. The eyes that once closed in faith, now open in vision. The silence of night gives way to the music of eternity. Teresa said that those who learn to sleep in grace will recognize heaven the instant they enter it, because they have already tasted it in their hearts. For them, the light is not a stranger. It is the same warmth that held them through countless nights. Do you understand the magnitude of this truth? The way you fall asleep tonight is shaping the way you will awaken in eternity. When you whisper nada te turb, you are training your soul to die well. Not with fear but with familiarity. You are learning to hand yourself over to the one who has never once dropped you. Teresa's final words on earth were these: "Finally, Lord, I am yours." It was not a cry of surprise. It was the completion of a sentence she had been writing her entire life. With every surrender, every act of peace, every quiet yes. You too can begin writing that sentence tonight. Not through grand gestures, but through quiet fidelity. Each time you choose trust over worry, stillness over haste, faith over fear, you add another word to that eternal prayer. I am yours. When you live this way, the boundary between earth and heaven grows thin. Every sunrise becomes a preview of resurrection. Every act of rest becomes an echo of eternity. You will notice it. How light begins to change in your days. How anxiety loses its grip. How peace becomes not a passing feeling, but your natural home. Saint Teresa said that when a soul is fully surrendered, God Himself becomes her breath. She doesn't force holiness. She inhales grace and exhales love. That is what awaits you beyond the night. A life where every breath is worship, every heartbeat is communion, and every silence is filled with God's voice. This is the meaning of awakening in the light. It is not an end. It is the unveiling of what was always there. The peace you practiced in the dark becomes radiance. The love you whispered in secret becomes music. The faith you held when you could not see becomes sight. So tonight, as you prepare once more to rest, remember, this is not just another night. It is a rehearsal for eternity. A sacred dress rehearsal for the moment when God will whisper your name, and you will open your eyes to His morning that never ends. Say the words again, now with deeper understanding. Nada te turb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. You are being prepared for light. And even now, in the stillness of this moment, the dawn of eternity is already touching your soul. Stay with me, because in the final chapter, you will discover how Saint Teresa's 3 words can become not only your nightly prayer, but your life's anthem. A way of walking through this world unshaken, until peace itself becomes your witness, and God alone your home. Saint Teresa's secret was never complicated. She didn't promise miracles to those who chased visions or revelations. She offered something far greater, the quiet strength of a soul that cannot be moved. She called it living in the presence. To her, peace was not the absence of storms, but the certainty of an anchor within them. She once wrote, "Let nothing disturb you, not even yourself." That line holds the key to her entire path. Because the greatest storms we face are not out there, but within us, the restless thoughts, the replayed memories, the fears that whisper when the room grows quiet. Saint Teresa learned to silence them not by force, but by turning her gaze again and again toward the eternal. She taught that when the soul makes God its center, everything else finds its proper orbit. The anxieties that once ruled us lose their power. The future no longer terrifies. The past no longer defines. Peace ceases to be a fragile state of mind, and becomes a steady way of being. You may think this kind of serenity is impossible, but Teresa would tell you, it begins in the smallest moments. In the pause before you react. In the breath you take before you speak. In the whisper of nada te turb. When your heart begins to race. Every time you do that, you are practicing eternity. You are learning what the saints already know. That peace is not given once. It is chosen again and again, until it becomes who you are. Teresa's own life was proof of this. She faced misunderstanding, sickness, exhaustion, and doubt. Yet she never surrendered her joy. Even when the walls of her convent were crumbling, she would laugh and say, "If this is how you treat your friends, Lord, no wonder you have so few." It wasn't sarcasm, it was sanctified humor. A soul so free that even suffering became a kind of play. Because she knew the truth. Nothing that happens in this world can touch the heart that rests in God. And that is what Naudati Terb truly means. Not only, let nothing disturb you, but, let nothing own you. Not fear, not ambition, not loss. Only love. When love is your only master, peace follows like a shadow. So tonight, and every night that follows, say her words not as a wish, but as a declaration of identity. You are not your worries. You are not your mistakes. You are the dwelling place of peace itself. And peace, once invited, never leaves. Listen to how Teresa ends her prayer of trust. Let nothing trouble you, nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. She wrote those words not for cloistered nuns, but for you, for the restless, the tired, the anxious. For anyone who has ever longed to rest without fear. You may not see it yet, but the moment you begin to live these words, your whole life becomes a quiet sermon. People will sense it. A calm in your presence that cannot be explained. You will not need to preach. Your peace will speak for you. And it will whisper to the world. As Teresa whispers to you now, God alone suffices. So take one final deep breath. Feel how stillness fills your chest, as if heaven itself has leaned close. Whisper once more, slowly, with love. Nada, the Terb. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. And if these words have brought light into your night, let that light grow. Keep it with you and share it, so that others, too, may rest in the peace you have found. Subscribe to Light of the Inner Castle, and walk with us deeper into the teachings of Saint Teresa, where the restless heart learns to be still, and stillness becomes the gateway to God. Now go in quiet joy. You are held. You are seen. You are safe. Peace is not coming. It is already here. There is a moment, Saint Teresa wrote, when words are no longer necessary, when the soul no longer prays to God, but simply is with Him. Silence becomes communion, and even breath becomes praise. Perhaps you have felt it tonight. That quiet after the final Naudati Terb, where thought falls away, and something vast, tender and eternal fills the space it leaves behind. That is not emptiness. That is presence. That is the whisper of God answering your surrender. Saint Teresa called it the prayer of quiet. It is not learned. It is received. It comes to those who have laid down the weapons of worry and control. It comes when you stop trying to reach heaven and allow heaven to reach you. In that stillness, nothing needs to be proven. You are already known. You are already loved. You are already home. Every saint, she said, begins not with power but with stillness. And every soul that learns to rest in God becomes a channel through which the divine peace flows quietly into the world. So when the morning comes, and the world begins again with its noise and demand, do not rush. Begin your day as Teresa did, by opening your eyes to presence. Let the first breath of the day be your silent amen to the night's prayer. Carry the peace that found you in the dark into every light you walk through. And when fear returns, as it always tries to, you will know what to do. You will remember the whisper. Naudati Terb. Let nothing disturb you. You have practiced heaven long enough to know its rhythm by heart. This is the legacy Saint Teresa left us. Not walls of stone or relics of history, but a way of being. A soul awake. A heart at rest. A peace that does not end. Now, as you step beyond these words, carry them as she carried hers. Let your life itself become a prayer, a quiet blessing poured into the world. And when your own night comes, do not be afraid. You will not fall into darkness. You will fall into the same arms that have held you since the beginning. Nothing will disturb you. Nothing will frighten you. Because God never changes. Whoever has God lacks nothing. God alone suffices. If this reflection has brought peace to your soul, Stay with this light. Subscribe to Light of the Inner Castle, where every story, every prayer, every word is meant to draw you closer to the stillness that never fades. Until then, rest in peace, live in peace, and carry peace wherever you go. Saint Teresa of Jesus, pray for us, that we may learn to live these 3 words and awaken one day in the eternal calm of God's endless morning.